Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Erica. I'm going to be guiding you through a nice, slow Sunday yoga flow today. Thanks so much for being here. I appreciate it. Before we get started, all you need is a mat. If you don't have one, a towel will do just fine. I recommend having some water close by. And if you'd like to put on some music, you can get that prepared now. I would recommend something a little bit more on the quiet, slow side to go with our practice today. Or if silence will better serve you, that's absolutely fine too. I did create a playlist for today. It is under my Spotify, which is Erica, Erica, BK16. And it is just today's date, Carbone Yoga. I know it's a little bit hard to see. Carbone Yoga for 12/20. So even if you need to pause me, go ahead and pull up whatever music you're going to be listening to and get that ready to go. For those of you that are all ready to go, we are going to start on our backs today in Shavasana, lying down. So find a nice comfortable variation of that pose. Just come into whatever shape your body takes up naturally. Maybe the arms are nice and wide as you're lying on your back. Maybe the legs or feet come out nice and wide. Whatever variation of this pose that will allow you to just relax, to slow things down, to take a few moments for yourself, for your body, for your mind, for your breath. Self-care is not selfish, it is vital, particularly in these uncertain times. So we're in Shavasana, and we're tapping into our natural breath. Eyes can float to closed if that's comfortable for you. And just start to breathe naturally in and out of the nose. Think about connecting to that breath. That breath will carry you through your practice today. And one option that can help deepen the connection to your breath is bringing one hand to your heart, feeling the heartbeat, and one hand to your belly. Sometimes feeling the rise of the chest and of the belly as you inhale and the fall as you exhale can help us connect on a deeper level to that breath. If this variation does not serve you, you're welcome to release the palms, but if it feels okay, stay here for a few breaths. Just give yourself permission to slow down, getting as comfortable as you can in the space, preparing your mind, body, and breath for your yoga practice. Taking just a few moments out of your entire day. And as you breathe in, think about breathing in positivity, breathing in what you need, what will serve you. And on your exhales, letting go of whatever it is that you do not need, what distractions are present, what negativity you're holding on to, any expectations, just let them go every time you exhale. Taking just a few more breaths here before we start to reawaken the body. Nice audible breaths. You're in your home, you don't have to worry about anyone listening, anyone watching. Just really tap in to your body, listen to it and honor it. And from this position, lying on our backs, let's just start to gently bring some light attention to the body without disturbing your peace. Maybe wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes. Maybe start to roll out the wrists or the ankles. Maybe even very gently rocking the head side to side. Let's take a nice full body stretch. So bringing the legs together to touch, pointing the toes, arms come overhead. Good. Feeling a nice long line of energy all the way from your fingertips to your toes. Good. Keep with that slow, steady breath. And on the next breath, bringing the knees both in toward the chest, wrapping your arms around the front of the legs, giving yourself a nice little squeeze. Good. Maybe you find stillness here. Maybe you take some gentle rocks side to side. Just go with whatever your body does naturally. If you are rocking or taking any other movements, coming back center. And then very gently, you're going to release the right leg, bringing the sole of the right foot to the floor with a bent knee. And hugging that left knee in just a little bit tighter for a breath. And then getting ready to straighten out the left leg, bringing it high to the sky. And maybe here continuing to roll out the ankle or pointing and flexing the toe. Okay, starting to feel the back of the leg start to open up. And maybe even wrapping the hands, interlacing the hands behind that left leg to gently guide the leg closer to the top body to make this hamstring stretch a little bit deeper. Okay, maybe massaging the leg. If you're pretty open, having the option of even straightening out that right leg, and that will give you a little bit of a deeper stretch in the back of the left leg. Top body can stay relaxed. We're just starting our practice. If you're someone who's naturally a little bit more open or you're feeling a little energized, maybe even lifting the shoulders up off of the earth for a breath or two as you feel the core start to engage. That right foot can stay planted or it can even hover. Whatever variation you are in, take 2 more breaths here. If you took the option of straightening the right leg, bringing a bend back into it, planting the sole of the foot on the mat, releasing the grip on the left leg, lowering the top body, and crossing the left ankle on top of your right knee, you are in a figure 4 stretch. My left hand is gently pressing on the inside of the left knee to guide that hip open. And depending on how far my right foot is away or close to my body will determine how deep this stretch is. So if it's really tight, maybe walking the foot a little bit further away. Or if you want to get a little bit deeper into the outside of this left hip, bringing the heel a little bit closer to the sits bones. Good. And you have a lot of options, advancements, modifications in this figure 4 stretch. So listen carefully. Try any option, but if at any point anything becomes too much for you, just revert back to where we were previously. So this might be enough for you to stay right here. If you want to get a little bit deeper into this hip stretch, you can interlace your hands behind the right hamstring as you lift the right toes off of the earth. Good. Using the pressure from that right leg to guide the left leg closer to your body. Okay, stay here. Or maybe that right leg straightens high to the sky. Final option, if you'd like to take the shoulders up off of the earth for a breath or two and feel the core engage, you can do that too. And like I said before, if at any point anything hurts, doesn't feel good, you're not warm for it, just come back to where we were previously. There is no right or wrong as long as you're listening to your body. Let's take one more full breath in whatever variation you are in. If the shoulders are lifted, bringing them back to the earth. If the right leg is lifted, bringing a bend back into it as you plant the sole of the right foot, releasing the hand grip, bringing the arms out wide to the side if you have the space. Keeping the cross in the figure 4 of the legs, we're going to prepare to take a spinal twist. So take a nice inhale breath to prepare. And on the exhale, dropping both knees to the right side so the sole of the left foot is coming to the earth as your gaze comes off of that left arm, whether the eyes are open or closed. If you do not like the feeling of the twist with the crossed legs, you can always release that figure 4 and come into a traditional spinal twist. Breathing twisting a little bit deeper with each breath, each time you exhale. We're here for one more. And very slowly coming out of this spinal twist, releasing across the legs, bringing both knees back into the chest. Nice little hug here. And getting right into that second side, sole of the left foot's going to come to the earth with the bent knee. And hug that right knee a little bit closer into the chest for just a breath. I know you know where we're going on the second side, but don't rush it. And then straighten that right leg high to the sky, getting into the hamstring on the second side. Okay, again, maybe starting with some ankle rolls or pointing and flexing of the toe. Maybe interlacing the hands anywhere behind that leg to help draw the leg closer to the top body. Maybe a nice little massage here. If you did so on the first side and it felt okay, knowing you have the option to straighten and either relax or hover the left foot off of the earth. And if you did so again on the first side, taking the option to lift the shoulders for just a breath or two and feel the core start to activate. Lots of options. Take or leave whatever you want or don't want. Good. At the top, body is lifted, returning the shoulders to the earth. If you straighten the left leg, bringing a bend back into it, and then crossing the right ankle on top of the left knee, and using the right hand to the inside of the right knee to gently guide the hip open here. Good. Take a breath. Good. Maybe you stay right here for this hip opener. If you're not feeling that much of a stretch and you want to take this a little bit deeper, lift the left foot off of the earth and interlace the hands behind the left hamstring. Okay, using the pressure from that left leg on the right leg to gently guide it closer to the body and get a little bit deeper into this hip opener. Knowing you have the options here to straighten the left leg if that serves you. And maybe even lifting the shoulders off of the mat for a breath or two and feel the core start to activate. Good. Make sure you're still breathing. We have 2 breaths here. Inhale. Exhale for 1. Inhale. Exhale for 2. Lowering the shoulders. Bringing a bend back into the left leg if it's not there. Lowering the sole of the left foot. Keeping the crossed legs. Arms out wide to a T. Taking a nice inhale breath to prepare for our spinal twist. And on the exhale, twisting both knees to the left. Bringing the right sole of the foot closer to the earth. Gaze this time will be off of the right arm. Even if those eyes are closed, gaze is in that direction. And again, knowing you have the option, if you don't like the feel of the cross-legged spinal twist, to release the figure 4 and come into a traditional spinal twist. Good. Twist a little bit deeper each time you exhale. We're here for 2 breaths. And gently releasing out of the spinal twist, coming back center, uncross the legs if they're still crossed, hugging both knees back into the chest once more. Good, and this time I want you to reach for the knees with the hands, right hand to right knee, left hand to the inside of the left knee, and I want you to separate the knees like you're opening the pages of a book, coming into a reclined or a supine prayer squat. Good. Very gently putting some pressure on the inside of the knees just to get a nice stretch along the inner thighs and the groin. Top body is relaxed. We're here for 1 more full breath. And then gently closing the knees like you're closing a book. Knees back into the chest. We're going to take a couple of rocks up and down the length of our mat. And we're going to meet in Sukhasana, easy seat when you are ready. Good. Once you get in and settled, let's take a few breaths. So on your next inhale breath, draw the shoulders up toward the ears. And on your exhale, roll them down your back. Let's have a nice dramatic lion's breath. So you're going to inhale through the nose as the shoulders lift up to the ears. And then open mouth, let that breath go as you roll the shoulders down the back. Okay, let's take a moment just to set an intention for our practice today. What is it that you're creating energy for? What is it that brought you to your mat? If nothing comes to mind, maybe just bring something into your heart and into your mind that you are grateful for. Something that you love. And once you've set that intention and there is no rush at all, returning the hands back to the knees. And we're going to get into some gentle neck rolls. Let's take some slow neck circles to the right. Eyes can be opened or closed, whatever's better for you here. Moving nice and slowly here. Tall through the spine, shoulders away from the ears. Let's take one more full circle in this direction. And once you've completed that circle, coming back center. Next inhale breath brings the arms overhead. Your gaze will follow. And on the exhale, folding forward with a flat back, leading with your heart. Bringing the hands wherever they fall. Good, making sure that the face is relaxed. I always say there's no wrinkles in the back of your neck, meaning that you're not looking up and straining, but that your head is in direct alignment with your spine. And gently walking the fingertips forward, making sure that the sits bones are not lifting off of the earth. If they are, just gently walk the fingers back in. Let's take one more full breath here in this fold. And then very gently walking the fingers back in toward the body. Head will be the last thing to lift. And then just switch the cross of your legs. So whichever leg is in front, bring it behind. Good. And then once you're in and you settle back in here, we'll take some gentle neck circles now toward the left. So going in the opposite direction as you did the first time. And again, eyes can be open or closed. Palms can rest on the knees if that feels okay. Just trying to release any tension that we feel in the neck, a really common place to feel tight and tense. And again, making sure the shoulders are drawn away from the ears. Let's take one more full circle in this direction. Meeting back center when you're done. Inhale breath brings the arms overhead, gaze will follow. And exhale again, leading with the heart, keeping the spine nice and flat, folding. And making sure again that the sits bones are not lifting off of the mat, keeping them nice and grounded. Just gently walking the fingertips forward. Continuing to breathe slowly and steadily. Good, one more breath here. And walking the fingertips back in toward the body. Again, head will be the last thing to lift. We're going to roll over the knees coming into a tabletop pose. So in our tabletop pose, we are on our hands and our knees. My knee is in a straight line down from my hip. My wrist is in a straight line down from my shoulder. Good. Fingers are nice and spread. And the bottom half of the legs, if you take a look between the thighs, are hidden behind the top part, directly behind you. And we're going to get into some cat-cow. So on your inhale breath, your belly's going to drop, big arch to the spine as the gaze lifts, maybe even the toes tuck. That's an option for you. And on your exhale breath, untuck the toes if they're tucked. And bring a big roundness into the spine as the gaze comes inward, like there's a string pulling your spine up high to the sky. Good. Inhale, belly drops, gaze lifts. Exhale, We find that angry cat back once more. Good. Continue to move through some cat-cows at your own pace, really thinking about linking your breath with your movements. Good. Warming up the back. Good. Taking one more full round wherever you are. And once you've taken that round, meeting back in a neutral tabletop. Good. On the next breath, you're going to lift your left leg hip height straight out behind you. And then that right arm. So we're in a little bit of a balance here. Balancing on the right knee and the left palm. Good. Feel the glute engage. Feel the shoulder engage. And then gently lower back to tabletop. This time, right leg lifts behind you, hip height, left arm, shoulder height. Good. Balancing on the left knee and the right palm. Feeling everything engage here, finding our balance, and then releasing. Good. Let's do that one more time on each side. Left leg and right arm extend. And left arm, right leg, one final time. Good. Coming back to that neutral tabletop spine, tucking your toes, and lifting the knees just a couple of inches off of the earth and feeling the core start to engage. Shoulders are directly over the wrists for right now. But I want to give you the option, if you'd like, to drop the sits bones to the heels and get a nice little stretch in the ankles and through your Achilles tendons. You can press back for a breath. And then our hips are going to lift high to the sky as the heels lower, finding our first downward facing dog. In our downward facing dog, we're in this upside down V. Fingers are nice and spread. Toes are inner hips width distance apart, or I should say feet are inner hips width distance apart. Thinking about grounding the heels closer to the earth, lifting the hips high to the sky as you melt your chest back to your thighs. Maybe shake the head gently, yes or no, to get comfortable here. Maybe even pedaling out the feet. Good. Whatever movements you're taking, preparing to come back to our traditional down dog, let's take a nice roll out to our high plank pose. So high plank is our top of a push-up. Make any adjustments you need to with your hands and your feet. Good. Feel the core engage. And then slowly hips lift high to the sky as the heels lower, which in what should be our perfectly aligned downward facing dog. Let's take a nice slow walk with the feet up to meet the hands. No rush here. And we'll meet in our forward fold. Okay, so legs are straight or close to it. It's very early, so it's perfectly fine, if not even recommended, to have a micro bend here. Letting the arms and the top body hang heavy, letting the head hang heavy, letting gravity do the work here, and opening the back of the body. Let's prepare to take a halfway lift. So on your next inhale breath, come to a flat back, hands come to the shins, shine your heart. And on the exhale, fold. Nice. Preparing to rise all the way up this time. Next inhale breath, upward salute. Arms come up overhead. Good. Let's take a nice little side body stretch here. So let's reach for the right wrist with the left hand. And then we're going to lean toward the left side. Feeling a nice stretch along the right side body. Gaze is underneath the right bicep. One more breath. Good. Using your core to rise back through center. Switching the grip, so right hand around the left wrist. And on the next exhale breath, leaning over toward the right. Gaze under the left bicep. And feeling a nice stretch along the left rib side, the rib cage on the left side. One more breath. Good. Coming back center, releasing the grip and swan diving back into your forward fold. When you get there, take that halfway lift. Inhale to a flat back. Hands come to the shins. Create a little space. And on the exhale, fold. Good. Planting the hands, stepping back to our high plank pose. Top of a push-up. And then preparing to meet back in downward facing dog. Hips lift as heels lower. Good. Moving through that sun salutation one more time. This time we're going to pick up the pace a little bit. And again, really thinking about linking our breath with our movement. So taking a walk to the top of the mat, meeting in forward fold. Inhale for the halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, upward salute. Arms overhead. Exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Planting the hands, stepping back to that high plank pose. And then back to downward facing dog. Good. Let's come high to the tippy toes in our downward facing dog. And then lowering the heels back closer to the earth. Do that one more time. High on the tippy toes. And then lowering the heels. So we're going to come into a three-legged dog. So the next breath, that right leg's going to lift off the earth. And maybe it just comes hip height. If you're a little more open, maybe it comes a little bit higher. Still grounding the left heel down and melting the chest back toward the thighs. And bringing the knee in toward the nose, that angry cat back. And then stepping the right foot between the hands, finding our low lunge. So in our low lunge, we're looking for a 90-degree bend on that front leg. So I'm high on the left toes. Sole of my right foot is completely grounded here. Shoulder and hip points are facing the front of the room. Fingers can come peace signs to the ground if you need a little extra support here. Or blocks if you have them, or maybe even they hover. Just make sure you're not resting that top body on the thigh. You want the core engaged and really engage the inner thighs to help with your balance here. Good. One more breath and we'll get a little relief. Good. Lowering now that left knee. Bringing the arms up high. We're in a modified high lunge. We're going to prepare to take a little twist here. So take a nice inhale to prepare. And on the exhale, we twist left arm to the front, right to the back. Gaze is off the right hand. Good. Twist a little deeper for one more breath. And then gently we release back to that modified high lunge. Bringing the hands down, interlace the fingers. Bring them to the top of the right knee. And we're going to get into a crescent lunge. The way we do that is just by sinking this left hip flexor forward and down. Sole of the right foot is still planted, left toes are untucked. Making sure the top body is square toward the front of your room. Good, and sink in here, feeling a nice gentle hip flexor stretch. Good, you have the option to keep the arms here or to explore any other variation. Maybe bringing the arms to cactus for a nice heart opener. Maybe even lifting them overhead for the full variation of Anjaneyasana or crescent lunge. Good, whatever feels good for you. Let's take one more full breath here. Good, framing out the right foot with the hands, tucking the back toes. And we're going to take a big transition back to our three-legged dog. So planting the palms, coming up on those left toes, and that right leg's going to kick up high to the sky, three-legged dog. Stay here. Maybe this time you bend the knee and you open the hip by bringing the right heel closer to the right sits bones. If the leg is bent, straightening it up and squaring the hips. And preparing for a big transition again. So we're going to take that right foot and step it to the outside of the right hand coming into our lizard lunge. Taking just a couple of rocks forward and back off those left toes. Good. And then dropping the left knee and straightening the right leg. Making sure we're not sitting low with this left sits bones. We want to keep the hips high away from the heel. So it's a straight line down from my hip to my knee. Right leg is straightened out to the top corner of my mat, hands to the inside. Maybe you fold a little bit deeper here. Maybe even windshield wipering that right foot to see how it hits the hamstring a little bit differently. Go ahead and settling in for another 2 full breaths. Good. Nice. And then bringing the sole of the right foot to the outside of the mat. And we're going to step the left foot outside of the left hand, coming into this wide-legged forward fold. So my feet are to the outside edges of the mat, and the top body hangs heavy. Maybe even grabbing for opposite elbows, swaying side to side in what we call our ragdoll. Maybe even interlacing the hands behind the head, just to help draw the top body a little bit closer to the legs. Good. Let's take another full breath here in our wide-legged forward fold. Good. Then we're going to plant the hands inside of the feet. One leg at a time. We're going to step it back to downward facing dog. Good. Getting into our second side. Left leg lifts high to the sky. Good. Again, option to keep it hip height. We're going to come a little bit higher. Just make sure the right heel is grounding down and the chest is melting back toward the thighs. Good. Bringing the knee in toward the nose with that angry cat back. And then stepping the left foot in between the hands, coming into our low lunge. Again, making sure we're strong in this foundation of so many of our poses. So let's check in. Right heel is lifted. Left foot is fully grounded. Top body square. Nice deep 90-degree bend in the left leg. And again, if you need the support, you can come to peace fingers. If you have blocks, it's a great adjustment here just to bring the earth a little bit closer. Or you can hover. Just make sure the top body is not resting, that the core is engaged and the inner thighs are engaged to help with the balance in your low lunge. Good. One final breath here. And then the right knee drops, arms lift overhead, pinkies spiral in, shoulders away from the ears for our modified high lunge. And preparing to take that twist, let's take a nice deep inhale. And on the exhale, slice it open, right arm to the front, left to the back, gazes off of the left hand. Good. Twist a little deeper for one final breath. Slowly releasing out of your twist back into your modified high lunge. And then interlacing the hands and bringing them to the top of the knee. Good. Untucking the right toes if they are tucked. And then sinking into our crescent lunge. So again, left foot is securely planted. And we're leaning forward and down, getting a nice stretch along this right hip flexor, making sure the top body is square to the front. Good. Again, taking any arm variation that feels good for you today, whether it's cactus or overhead, or maybe you just stay right here with the interlaced hands on the left leg. Whatever variation you are in, you are here for 2 more full breaths. Good, and preparing for that big transition back into our 3-legged dog. Hands are going to frame out the left foot, tuck the back toes, lifting the right knee off the mat, planting the palms, and then that left leg kicks up high to the sky, knowing you have the option to keep it hip height or traditional down dog. If you did so on the first side, bringing a bend into the knee and opening up the hip, bringing the heel closer to the sits bone, stacking the hips. If you're bent, squaring off and taking that big step, left foot to the outside of the left hand into your lizard lunge. Taking a couple of rocks back and forth off those right toes. And then lowering that right knee, straightening the left leg. Again, making sure, even if you have to lift up first, hip over knee, straight line up and down, left toes to the top left corner, hands to the inside of the left foot. Good, nice fold here for our half runner's lunge, our half split. Ardha Hanumanasana is our half split. Again, maybe moving the foot left and right. See if that affects the stretch in the back of the leg. Right toes can be tucked or untucked here. Some people like to keep them tucked for the balance. My foot prefers for it to be untucked, so that's the way I do it. No right or wrong. All right, one more breath here. And then planting the sole of the left foot, using the palms for some support. We're going to step that right foot to the outside of the right hand, straightening the legs in our wide-legged forward fold. Then maybe you hang here, but I'm going to offer you another option on this second side. If you'd like to come into Malasana prayer squat, toes are going to turn slightly to the outside, and we're going to lower the hips inside of the legs, knees come out nice and wide. Okay, using the elbows to even gently open those knees to the outer walls. We were here on our backs during warm-up, so this should be available for many of you, but it is a tough position, so if it does not feel good, or if your heels are not fully grounded, release out of it and come back to that wide-legged forward fold. Good, wherever you are, let's take one more full breath. If you are in your prayer squat, coming back to the wide-legged forward fold. Good, everyone heel toe your feet back about 2 fist widths width apart. And then we're going to take a slow rise up to stand, coming into Tadasana Mountain Pose. I'm going to adjust my frame so you can see me. Good, we are here in Mountain Pose. Let's check in. Okay. Chest is nice and tall, core is engaged, shoulders are lowered away from the ears, palms facing forward. We're going to get into just a little bit of balance here before we bring things all the way down. Balance is one of those things that's a little hard right now for some people to find with their schedules being totally different, lives being totally different from what they were before. So just come into a little bit of balance here. Okay, let's bring the weight into the left foot. Bring the hands to prayer heart center. And we're going to start by lifting that right knee in toward the chest. 2 things that will help you here with your balance are flexing that right foot and finding a dristi. A dristi is something that you can focus on, that you can look at, that is not moving. And once you catch your balance, we're going to open up to tree. So once more, opening that right knee. You have some options here. Maybe the right toes plant like a little kickstand, especially if balance is not your strong suit. It's not mine every day, that's okay. Maybe it comes to the inside of the right calf, or maybe if it's available, it even comes to the inner thigh. Just make sure you're not putting any pressure on that knee joint. Good. And hands can stay here, or they can open into cactus, or they can elevate above like tree branches. Just really think about a tree. Underneath that left foot, visualize those roots that are holding you and securing you into the ground. So whatever storms come your way, whether they are literal storms for a tree or, figurative storms in our life that maybe cause us to sway and rock a little bit, we are secure, we are grounded, we are safe. Good. Taking one more breath here in whatever variation of tree pose you are in. If you fall out of it, you come right back, just like life, right? We fall down, we get back up. Good. Releasing that right knee into the chest, flexing the foot, and then lowering it down and just shaking everything out. Now we're going to come into tree on the second side. So bringing the weight now into your right foot. Again, I like to start with hands at prayer heart center. If they're more comfortable for you down at the sides, that's fine. Left knee lifts into the chest, flexing the left foot, finding your drishti gaze. Picturing those roots again underneath that right sole of the foot, holding you securely into the earth. Then coming into your variation of tree pose, whether it's kickstand or you take a balance. Coming in again to whatever arm variation serves you. Whatever feels good. Staring really hard at your drishti, your focal point, and continuing to keep the breath slow and steady. Good, 2 more breaths. Good, if the hands are in any other variation, bringing them back to the heart, bringing that left knee back into the chest, flexing the foot for just a breath, and then lowering it to meet the right, releasing the hands down by your sides. Inhale, arms come overhead, gaze will follow. Exhale, swan dive back down into your forward fold. Depending on where you are in the mat, on your mat, you might have to move your hands, you might need to move your feet, but we're going to find ourselves in a plank position, tall push-up, and then very slowly and with control, I want you to lower all the way to your belly. We're going to get into some grounding stretches here, really into our back and into our hips. Good, so you are on your bellies. Just adjust myself so you can see me. Good, settle in. Come back to the breath. Come back to your intention. And let's bring our forearms to a number 11 out in front of us. This is our Sphinx pose. So we're shining our heart. Toes are untucked behind us, legs out long. Chest is lifted. Chin is even slightly elevated if that feels okay. If you're feeling a nice back bend, stay right here. If you want to take this a little bit further, press through the palms and straighten to find seal. And then gently lowering back to the forearms. Getting into the hips a little bit here. We're going to bring a bend into the right leg, a 90-degree bend. So I'm going to bring it out to the side. It's hard to see a little bit, but my knee is in a straight line out from my hip. My ankle's in a straight line down from my knee. This is a half frog pose. Right now we're in a kind of a hybrid between a half frog and a sphinx. Good. Again, you have lots of options. Feel free to take what you want, leave what you don't. You can stay here in this hybrid back bend or hip opener. Maybe even pressing through the palms if you're really open in the back to find that seal for a moment or two. Or if you'd really like to bring things down from here, you can bring your left cheek to the mat and your arms out to cactus and really lower and settle in. Good. Maybe even close the eyes if that's comfortable. And think about bringing that right hip flexor closer to the mat. And we're here for 3 or 4 breaths. Slowing things down, keeping our focus here in this room for just a few more minutes. And then gently releasing the right leg back to meet the left, straight legs, untucked toes, coming back to the forearms for Sphinx. Good. Again, knowing your options. If you just want to lower right down, we're going to get into that second side, you can. But if you want to start with that Sphinx and frog variation like you did on the first side, we're in our Sphinx here. You know, you can lift to seal by straightening the arms, pressing through the palms. But our goal is to get into this half frog here. So again, straight line, hip to knee, straight line, knee to ankle. Pressing the hip flexor closer to the earth. Knowing you can stay in Sphinx the whole time. You can straighten for seal for a breath or two, or you can bring the arms to cactus right away and come on to that right cheek. And at some point, everyone should get into this nice restorative variation. On the right cheek, arms to cactus, eyes closed, half frog. Again, settling in for another 3 breaths or so. Let's take one more full breath. And then releasing that left leg back to meet the right. Maybe even bending the knees, just gently windshield wipering. The legs side to side, feel the lower back start to release, start to open. Good. And then straighten out the legs, keeping the head at the same end of the mat and the feet as they are, just rolling over onto your backs. I'm going to sit up so you can hear me, but everyone here should be on their backs in Shavasana, coming full circle from where we started about 45 minutes or so ago. And again, finding a comfortable variation that's really going to allow you to just slow things down and reap all the benefits of your physical yoga practice for just a few more moments. If you want to turn music off or switch to a song better suited for Shavasana, you can go ahead and do that. And just float the eyes to closed. Let's take a nice deep lion's breath to help settle in here. So on your next inhale, filling all the way up, deep, deep inhale. Hold it at the top. Open mouth, let it go like you're fogging up a window. Good, and settling into your Shavasana. Just taking a quick scan of the body. And if you notice any areas of tension, just trying to soften there. Trying to visualize the breath going there. Any unwanted thoughts come to mind, just let them go. Just come back to your breath. Coming back to your intention. We move our bodies through our physical practice. When we come to this point, we can find some stillness. Stillness in the body, stillness in the mind. And again, we're just going to take a few more moments, a few more breaths out of your entire day in Shavasana. And gently starting to bring some awareness back into the body without disturbing your peace. Maybe rocking the head gently side to side. Maybe some gentle wiggles of the fingertips or toes. Let's take a nice full body stretch on our back. So bringing the legs together to touch, pointing the toes, arms come overhead for that nice long line of energy, a nice full body stretch. And then hugging the knees in toward the chest, giving yourself one final hug here. And then rolling over onto your right side. Curling up into a little ball. Then using your left hand for some support, gently guiding yourself up into a seated position at the top of your mat. Float the eyes to close. And I'd like to close class with one collective breath. So everybody together, breathing in and then breathing out. Thank you all so much for tuning in, for allowing me to guide you through your practice today. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I hope everyone's feeling good. Enjoy the rest of your day. Feel free to reach out at any time if you guys have any questions or I can help in any way. Thank you so much. Stay well.